couple of weeks ago, I dropped a video on meal planning, and I discussed all the simple things that you need to do in order to meal plan effectively. And that was a really great video. However, sometimes people don't comprehend things until they see it for themselves. So the intention behind this video, Meal Planning Part 2, is to invite you into my meal planning process so that you could see how I personally meal plan, and to also show you different hacks and things that you should really know to meal plan effectively, so that you have very strategic meal planning and very strategic meal prep. The intention behind meal planning is twofold. One, it allows for you to cut down the amount of time you're using to invest in your food so that you could have a better quality of life and invest that time elsewhere. And the second intention is that meal planning is what allows for you to be consistent and also allows for you to reach your desired health goals, right? When you're eating haphazardly, there's no way that you are going to reach whatever health status you desire. And it's consistency that allows for you to do that. And meal planning is what guarantees consistency. Before I invite you into how I meal prepped this last week, I would like to go over the necessary things that you should do to meal plan effectively. 1, make sure that you sit down once a week with your significant other or the people in your household or just yourself and plan out what you want to eat for the following week. Don't do it for the week of, do it for the following week so that you are prepared. It should be on the same day every week where you sit down and think about all the things that you want to eat. And that should include breakfast, lunch, dinner, and all of your snacks. Meal prep number 2 is once you've finished writing down your weekly menu, take stock of what you have in your house and write down your shopping list. Think about the things that you need based off of what you have at home and based off of what is written on your menu. Meal prep rule number 3, make sure to go grocery shopping once a week on the same day every week. Meal prep rule number 4, just put all the food away as soon as you get into the house. Meal prep rule number 5, make sure to prepare 25% to 50% of your weekly food at one time. And if you can't prepare your meals, make sure you prepare your snacks and put them in appropriate places so that you don't kill people with your hunger. Meal prep rule number 6, something that we did not talk about in the last video, is to make sure that you have at least 2 weeks worth of food in your freezer, just in case rules number 1 through 5 did not make it for you this week. Let me invite you to how I plan my menu every week and also introduce the necessary hacks and tricks that you should know to cut down your meal prep in half. Ready? Let's go. Okay, you guys, I'm going to show you 3 different examples of meal plans. And with each meal plan, I'm going to show you what I would do, things that I would consider, different hacks, different tricks, all the things that you need to know in order to invest less time in your food and have more consistency. So this last week was a little unusual in the sense that my husband and I just finished a 28-day cleanse, which is so stereotypical for a nutritionist to say on a YouTube video. But it's true. We did a 28-day program. It's a program that I run. I've been running for the last 4 years, and it's really great. So if you're interested, you could go onto my website to check it out. But that's not why you're here. So this is what we did. My husband and I sat down and we had a discussion. He told me everything that he's interested in eating that week, of course, under the confines of the detox, and I told him what I was interested in making. And we wrote down our compromise in the meal plan. And so that's what we're going to go over. All right, you guys, this is the first thing that I want to show you. It's just the general template for the meal plan. This is what I generally use every week in order to meal plan, and this is what's available to you below the screen of this video. All right, you guys, this is my meal plan for this last week. Again, unusual because it was for a detox week. So first, I want to show you how I filled this meal plan in. And then I want to show you how I made it so simple for myself. First things first, you see that it's the same template as before. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, Sunday, Monday down. Okay, so on this cleanse, you have 2 juice days at the beginning of the week. Sunday, Monday are juice days, and so that was a really easy fill-in. Then the next 2 days, Tuesday, Wednesday, those were things that my husband and I had to sit down and discuss what it is that we wanted to eat. So I'm like gaga for buckwheat, so it was very obvious that I was going to make myself buckwheat hummus, an avocado, and a large salad for breakfast, and my husband just had to be game for that. So that was our breakfast. And then for lunch, we had a large salad with tahina dressing and seed bread. Dinner, we had mung bean stew. And don't forget those snacks so that you don't kill people with your hunger. Apples, persimmons, and buckwheat muffins for my favorite little girl, Nomi. And then basically Wednesday was just a repetition of Tuesday, which we're going to talk about in a second. Thursday and Friday were another set of repeated days. We had a large salad with avocado and sprouted nuts for breakfast because that's what my husband wanted. For lunch, we had a large salad with basil dressing and sweet potato. And then we had oven roasted vegetables and fish. And then, of course, don't forget those snacks. Now, if you see, we also have a fun meal. Yay! We're going to discuss that in a second. But for this fun meal, we're having olive spread, cashew cream, salmon, salad, zucchini quiche. I mean, it's going to be epic. So that's just an example of what I made on my last week of this cleanse. It was super delicious, and I'm super grateful because I feel super clean inside. But now I want to show you how I made this so simple. So the first thing that I did was I blocked my schedule into sets of repetitive days. I made Sunday, Monday the same food days, meaning that my menu was the same for Sunday and Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And the reason why I do that is because that way I can make a lot of food in bulk, and that cuts down on my cooking time and my prep time and my clean time. So I always recommend when meal planning to meal plan in blocks. Either have 3 blocks a week or 2 blocks a week. Meaning 2 blocks a week, you have 3 days that are exactly the same in your food schedule. And then the other 3 days are something entirely different. Or you could have a block of 3, which means that every 2 days you have a different food schedule. Because that way you cut down on the amount of time that you had to invest in your food, and you have a lot of food available at one time. So in case there's an emergency and you need to run out, you have food that you could take with you, and that's essential for making sure that you stay consistent. So the next tip has to do with juicing. And this doesn't matter if you're using a juicer or a blender. Anytime you're making yourself a fruit veggie shake or juice, this applies to you. So when it comes to health, there's always this debate between what is idealistic and what is realistic. What do I need to do to get my body to a place of vitality and health versus what is actually viable for me to do? So when it comes to juicing, the most idealistic thing that you could do is make the juice fresh right when you're about to drink it so that you have like maximum vitamin mineral capacity. But that's not so realistic. So when juicing, if you're going to have a juice day, make sure that you juice all of your juices right at the start of the day. Make the juice that you're going to have in the morning, and then make all the juices for, let's say, lunch and dinner and snacks. And then put those juices in airtight containers. Meaning, let's say, for example, you put a juice in a bottle and it only fills up half the bottle. Make sure to fill the rest of the bottle with water so that there's no air in the bottle that could oxidize the vitamins and minerals. And then just store those bottles in the fridge. The next important compromise is like this. Make all of your juices in advance. Whether you have a juice in the morning every morning, or you would like to have a juice randomly whenever you feel like it, but you're not inclined to do it because you don't want to pop out your juicer and run things through it, or whether you do have juice days, right? Make all of your juices in advance. You could make 10 juices at once. You can make 12 juices at once, doesn't matter, and then put them in individual, again, airtight containers, and then freeze them. Yes, there's a small nutrient loss when you freeze them, but you're going to be cutting down again on that prep time and that clean time. So obviously that hack has its benefits, because if you're going to be drinking juice more consistently, since you made it all at once, you're going to feel nourished more consistently. And isn't that the point of all of this? So far, all we've discussed right now is making sure that you have food blocks, making sure that you have repetitive days with your meals. And then the second thing that we discussed when it comes to juicing is that you can make a ton of your juices in advance and then freeze them. Now, we're going to implement that tip for something else as well. Now, if you see for my Tuesday breakfast, I have a large salad, avocado, and buckwheat hummus. Now, that's one of my favorite breakfasts to have, and this is how I make it simple for myself. So now, when I'm making my buckwheat hummus, I am making it in bulk. And bulk is going to be the power word of today's video. And you have a few options for making things in bulk, which we're going to discuss right now. For my Tuesday and Wednesday breakfast, I'm making my buckwheat hummus. Now I have a few options. I could either make enough buckwheat hummus to satisfy me for Tuesday and Wednesday, both for myself and my family, because my husband likes it, and even my little girl, my 18-month-old, likes it. So I can make enough for those 2 days when I'm meal prepping, right? But I also have the option of making it for the entire month. So let's say I know that throughout the entire month, I'm going to be eating it for 2 breakfasts out of the week. So that means for the month, I'm going to be eating it, let's say 8 times, even though it's typically more than that. So I either have the option of preparing the buckwheat hummus for Tuesday and Wednesday that week, or I have the option for preparing it for Tuesday, Wednesday, every week of that month, because I could always make, let's say, like 8 servings and then freeze the remaining 6. It doesn't take me that much longer to make an extra 6 servings. Why? Because I'm preparing everything through a food processor. It's not like I'm chopping anything. I'm just throwing things into a food processor. So why not make things in advance? So when it comes to making food in bulk, you have a few options. You could either make it in bulk for those few days, or you could think ahead and say, I'm going to be eating this very frequently. It's either something that I need to eat because it's part of my health plan, or it's something that I enjoy eating, or maybe both. So if I know that I'm going to be having this very frequently, make a shit ton in advance and then just freeze it. And that's it. And you've saved yourself so much time. We're going to get to the other bulk strategy in a second. The first thing that you need to understand is that when you make things in bulk, you save time. So now what you need to do is you need to change your mindset. Flip on the bulk switch. And every time you're making food, think, can I make this in advance for another time? And the answer is always going to be yes. And that's what you should start doing. Now, there are a lot of different things that you can make in bulk that you might not have thought. Now, for example, if you took a look at my lunch, which is a large salad with tahina dressing and seed bread. So seed bread is just like the buckwheat hummus. That's obvious. I could make that in bulk. I could make that in bulk both for that Tuesday and Wednesday lunch, or I could make it in bulk for the following week as well, for all the weeks of the month. That is my choice. If I have time to do that, and again, it doesn't take that much time because it's just another recipe where all I have to do is throw things into a food processor. I don't have to chop one thing. That's just a really easy thing to prepare for. So that's one thing that's very, very obvious. But another thing that's not so obvious is salad dressing. Salad dressing is a great thing to make in bulk and then freeze. Now, dressings are really important. It's like what gives your meal oomph, right? Or your salads oomph. So that's something that you want to invest in. So when you're making a dressing, which is just throwing ingredients into a jar, closing the cap, and then shaking it, make a ton. And then go to a store and get small containers where you could freeze this dressing. And that way, let's say when you're preparing your salad for your lunch, you throw all the ingredients of your salad in a Tupperware, and all you have to do is pop out these frozen dressings onto your salad, and then over time, they will thaw and coat your salad. And another positive thing about it is when you do this, because your salad wasn't sitting in dressing for a long period of time, it's not going to get super soggy. Isn't that amazing? So prepare your dressings in bulk as well. Now we move on to Tuesday and Wednesday dinner. And for this week, it's mung bean stew, which is a really easy stew to make because all you have to do is throw things into a pot, wait for them to cook, and then blend it with a stick blender. So there are a few things that we could do here that will save you a ton of time. First things first is I try to use dried beans as much as possible. Even though I know that cans or even boxed beans, which are better, are always a viable option, I prefer to use dried beans, which means that I have to soak the bean in advance. Depending on the type of bean that I'm using, I either have to soak my beans 12 hours in advance or 24 hours in advance. And let me just say, you have to soak your lentils. A lot of people don't soak their lentils, and it causes a lot of digestive distress. So please, soak your lentils. Now, sometimes you're just like, okay, I'm right about to make my stew, and then you're just like, I forgot to soak my beans. And then you're just like, what am I gonna do? I can't wait 12 to 24 hours to soak them and then make them. The opportune time to make this food is now. So what am I gonna do? So one thing that you could do is anytime you're soaking beans, soak more than you're going to need for that recipe so that you could store the extra in the freezer. So let's just say I'm going to soak what I need to have the 4 cups for my recipe, but I'm also going to soak an extra 4 cups so that I could always have mung beans available for the next time I'm going to make a stew. Isn't that so great? So let's say I've soaked my beans, I've drained and rinsed them, I take half of it for the current recipe, I take the other half, which is just soaked and rinsed beans, put them in a Ziploc, and then put it in the freezer. And when I do that, anytime I'm in the mood to make a stew or it's the time to make a stew, and let's say I forgot to soak the beans, I could always take that out of the freezer and just pop it into the pot, and I'm good to go, and I don't have to suffer because I forgot to soak. Does that make sense? So if you're repeatedly soaking something for your recipes, soak extra, drain it after it's been soaked, put it in a baggie, pop it into the freezer, and you have a backup. This will save you because I can't think of one person who hasn't forgot to soak their damn beans. So the next bulk tip is that anytime you're making a meal, make 1 to 4 servings more at the time that you're making the meal to freeze for later. So for example, let's say you're set to make this mung bean stew. Maybe consider making just an extra serving more, or 2 extra servings more, or 4 extra servings more, so that you could freeze for another time. This is really, really useful because you're anyways making the food, and if you know that you're going to have a crazy week the next day, you could create reserves for that week so that you're always prepared. And when you have those reserves, you're able to be consistent. So you don't have to specifically think, what do I need to make now for then? Just make more of what you're currently making. Now, anything that's cooked is really easy to freeze. Whether it's a stir fry, whether it's a soup, whether it's some type of animal protein or vegetable protein, if you're cooking it, you can freeze it. So anytime you're making a dinner, you're at home, hopefully you're relaxed, make an extra portion and then freeze it. And that way you could slowly increase the amount of food that you have in your freezer, which I always suggest having at least 2 weeks worth of food in your freezer. And when you do that, you're prepared for any emergency, any busy schedule, and you will be consistent. Now, I know you're hypnotized by my suggestion. You're gonna make things in bulk now, and that's really fantastic. But this is something that you need to remember when making food in bulk and freezing it. Always freeze in individual sized containers. I don't care if you're a family of 2, a family of 4, or a family of 10. If you're making food in bulk and you want to freeze it, always freeze in individual sized containers. And there are a few reasons for that. One reason is because maybe it's only going to be one person who wants to eat that food in bulk, right? And so let's say if you made a big mung bean stew and froze it, and you froze 6 servings at once, you're gonna have to thaw that entire soup out so that you could just have 1 serving. That's gonna take a crazy amount of time to thaw out. So it's really important that you always store things in bulk in individual containers because you never know if it's only gonna be one person who wants the food or multiple people. And even if it's multiple people that you're taking that bulk food from the freezer out for, if you froze it in one large heaping lump, it's gonna take forever for it to thaw. So if you froze it in individual containers, there's now gonna be a greater surface area and therefore it's going to thaw out faster. So specifically, if you had an emergency style day and you guys are coming home and you're ravenous and like basically killing each other with hunger, you're gonna thank me when you take out individual sized containers and then thaw it together. Because if it's one heaping lump, it's gonna take forever, and then by the time it's ready, everyone's gonna be dead because you murdered each other with hunger. That's essentially what's gonna happen. One more thing that I would like to mention in regards to this Tuesday and Wednesday schedule are the snacks. So there are a few things that you need to prepare for with your snacks. The first thing with snacks is that you have to, at the start of your week, put them in the right locations. So for example, if I'm going to my office every day that week, I should at the start of the week already take all of my snacks with me to work. Because typically snacks are things that don't go bad out of the fridge. So if I take let's say all my fruit that I would have as snacks, or different nuts or different things that I would enjoy, I do that at the start of my week. That way, if I'm rushing late for work and I didn't bring a snack, I'm not penalized for that because I already prepared in advance. Now, if you're going to eat snacks that are perishable or require preparation, then make all the snacks at the start of your week and have them ready for you. Again, if they're snacks for work and you have a fridge at work, bring all of them to work. Write your name on it so nobody steals your food because it's going to be delicious. And then you're ready to go. And that's it. All you have to do is prepare your snacks ahead of time. Now, one thing that I wanted to point out is my daughter's snacks, right? So I make her these apple cinnamon buckwheat muffins, and they're so delicious, and she loves them, which I love. And so what I'll do is I'll make them at once for her, right? So I'll make, let's say, like 16 muffins that she can nosh on throughout the week. I will make them and leave 2 days worth out of the fridge so that she has them at the ready. But the rest of them, I freeze them. And the reason why I freeze them is because baked goods can go dry in the fridge. So if I make a ton in advance and leave them in the fridge, they're going to be stale and she's not going to want to eat them. So another thing that you have to consider is when I make food in bulk, how should I contain it? Is this something that should be contained outside of the fridge? Is this okay to have in the fridge, or is this better kept in the freezer? So if it's a baked good you're making in bulk, leave a few days out on the counter and then leave the rest of the week's worth in the freezer. You're welcome. Now, if you've liked this video, fantastic! Give us a like, write a comment down below, or better yet, subscribe so that you could be a part of our community and get more information on lifestyle, on nutrition and health, and on mindset. Mwah! Ciao bella!